Hey there, grade 9s. This is going to be lesson 1.1 where we're talking about square roots and perfect squares. So I've got some examples that I'm going to show you on the board just to try to refresh you from last year. So basically what we have here is we have a 10 by 10 grid. Okay, if we want to try to find the area of the shaded, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we'd multiply it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we'd be able to just figure out that 9 squared gives us 81. So the area of this would be 81, which is a perfect square, which most of us are familiar with from last year, which means our square root would be 9. Now if we look over here, what if it was just a little bit smaller? So if it was, instead of it being 10 by 10, this whole side length was equal to 1. So this would be 0.9 times 0.9, which would give us 0.81 as our square. So that's something that kind of works out fairly well, but we're going to kind of throw a little twist at you here. Okay, so what I actually want you to do is I want you to pause the video. I'll come to this other side. I want you to pause the video, and I just want you to tell me what my side length or the square root is. All right? So for some of these, you should be able to remember them pretty quickly. So I'll just pause it. I want you to try to calculate all of them if you can. If not, I'm going to do the whole numbers first, and then I'm going to go to the fractions, and I'm going to show you kind of what we're doing in that situation. All right? So pause it now, do some of them, and then come back in a second. Okay, I assume that you've paused it and now you're back. So the area of each product, so that's the area, so that's the all squares. So we have 49 total squares, which means our side length is going to be 7. All right, 7 times 7 is 49. When we have 64, okay, that's 8 times 8, so we have 8. When we have 121, that's 11 times 11. And when we have 144, that's 12 times 12. Now, I'm going to do this one. So basically what's going on here is we're taking this and we're doing the square root of both numbers. If we're doing the square root of both numbers, we already know what the top number is going to be. Well, that's 7. And what's the square root of 100? Well, that's 10 times 10. So if our area of the product is 49 over 100, the side length is going to be 7/10. Alright, so pause it now if you want to do these other ones, which I don't think would be too hard for you now, and then come right back. Okay. So when we have 64 over 100, we end up getting 8 over 10. When we have 121, we end up getting 11 over 10. And 144 over 100 gives us 12 over 10. So these are technically our side lengths. Okay? Or what we could say is if this would be equal to 1.2 times 1.2, this is going to be our area. Okay? This is 1.1 times 1.1, this will be our area. Okay? 1.21 technically. If we've got 64 over 100 or 0.64, it'd be 0.8 times 0.8. So it still works out where we're able to use our perfect squares to calculate the actual areas of the side lengths. Right? In the next section, so now they're actually kind of showing exactly what we're talking about. So over here, we have, because we're used to having kind of our base 10s, so they're saying that this whole thing, if one unit, so if we were to say, okay, this is going to be here to here, okay, all the way and connect it, and this becomes our square. This is one full unit, and then we have 15 and 15. So we have 15 out of 10 by 15 out of 10. So if they were to square it, this is what's going on. We have 15 out of 10, 15 out of 10. That's our single side length, all right? So we have to say, and they have it in brackets and squared, which is the same as saying 15 out of 10 times 15 out of 10. So 15 times 15, if you remember how to multiply fractions, we just multiply straight across. Top by the top and bottom by the bottom. So 15 times 15 gives us 225, and then 10 times 10 gives us 100. All right? So that means the area of the entire thing is going to be 225 over 100, or 2.25, ends up giving us the area for all that. Okay? So this is kind of a new concept. I've got another example that I'll show you here. So here we have a similar one, but this time they're giving us the area, and we're looking for the side length. So the area here is 169 over 100. So what are we having to do? We're basically having to square root. So we're trying to figure out what times itself is 169, what times itself is 100. Okay, we have 13 times 13 gives us 169, 10 times 10 gives us 100. So when we square root it, we're basically taking out one of the things that it's multiplied by. So instead of having 13 by 13, we're basically eliminating one of them, okay, because now it's no longer multiplied by itself, it's no longer squared, because we found the square root, and we end up getting 13 out of 10. So if we were to count it, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And this side would be the same as well. All right? So that's kind of what we're talking about today. So we're finding the side length and using perfect squares, or if we have what the perfect square already is, how we're able to figure out what the side length is. So we're kind of going back and forth a little bit from one to the next. So what I'm going to have you all do is you're going to do some questions for practice, and then bring any questions that you might have from the practice questions or even just from this lesson to our Zoom chat, and then that's where we're just going to kind of break everything apart, and we'll talk about how we can solve some of the problems that you guys might have. All right? As always, if you need to get a hold of me, you can always message me on Google Hangouts. Have a great day.